This is the Asus ExpertBook B9 OLED, apparently the lightest 14-inch business laptop in the world. It just so happens that I saw it yesterday in the hands of an acquaintance, a guy who actually works in the business environment and had just purchased it. And from the first time I saw it, I really liked it. As you can see, it's extremely simple, clean, airy and elegant. But above all, it's incredibly light, which makes it very easy to handle. So yesterday, when that guy handed it over to me across the table, I applied more force when grabbing it, instinctively thinking it was heavier than it is, so I almost threw it over. Yes, it's under 1 kilogram, to be exact about 990 grams. Once you open the lid, you're greeted by an OLED screen that seems enormous for this 14-inch size. The exaggerated sense of size relative to the small chassis is due to the extremely narrow edges, including the top and bottom ones, which usually, even on very fancy laptops, remain a bit thicker. And the keyboard is spacious, with large gaps between keys and a huge touchpad, larger than on many other Ultrabooks. Despite its anorexic supermodel dimensions, the B9 unexpectedly has decent connectivity, a segment where most laptops in this category suffer. This one has on its sides one USB Type-A, two USB Type-Cs with Thunderbolt, which also serve as power ports, a full HDMI, wow, a micro HDMI and a 3.5mm headphone jack. That was the B9 in general, and now let's dive deeper. The ExpertBook category is designed for the business segment, but I don't see why it wouldn't be suitable for anyone who wants an extremely light and portable laptop. And not just that, but also very durable, this one even meeting that military standard STD-810H for durability. Also, on the durability part, I think it's worth mentioning the hinges, which allow the screen to unfold 180 degrees, something that seems practical, for example, when you want to show something on the screen to someone across the table, or you want to use it like some sort of tablet. The hinges are solid and offer some resistance to closing and opening, but their travel is very smooth. Although the two hinges are placed on the sides, I expected the screen to bend a bit when pressed in the middle, but no, the lid is quite rigid. The entire chassis is made of a magnesium-lithium alloy, which is how this remarkable weight of just 990 grams was achieved. I admit I have never been a big fan of magnesium alloy laptops and have always preferred aluminum, but this time Asus seems to have hit the recipe. The laptop manages to be light, but at the same time sufficiently rigid. Aluminum is indeed more resistant, but also heavier. And to finish with the exterior part, let's say that for cooling, the B9 has two generous side vents, despite the thinness of the chassis, and also on the bottom we have a large perforated surface where the laptop breathes. Also on the bottom there are three inserts, a large one towards the hinges, which stretches almost from one end of the laptop to the other, and two little feet, which serve to lift the laptop slightly off the desk surface, allowing it to cool down. But Asus also implemented here that system whereby when you open the lid, the bottom part of it raises the laptop's belly even more off the desk surface. Concerning this constructive choice, I have another observation to make. Although the screen unfolds somehow under the laptop's chassis, the hot air is no longer expelled at the base of the screen, something that annoyed me with other Asus models, but on the sides, which means that the hot air no longer reaches the screen surface or even its base. Good job. Let's talk a bit about the keyboard, which seems spacious and handy to me. The keys are well spaced, large and robust, except for delete and page up, page down keys, which are really small. With my sausages, I missed delete more than once, unintentionally pressing backspace, as well as in the case of page up, page down. The key travel is decent, not too long, not too short, the resistance is also moderate, and they are not very noisy, except for the space key, which sounds like a pen hit by a pot, unlike all the others. If I were to stay in an office with someone typing on this laptop and hitting the space key hard, I think I'd check myself into a madhouse. The trackpad is absolutely superb, one of the best I've ever seen. This is a chapter where for a long time only Apple knew how to do it, how big it has to be and how such a component should work. But it turns out that other manufacturers are catching up. The touchpad on the B9 is extremely fast and precise, and on top of that, it comes with that Asus gimmick which allows you to display an excellent and very useful numpad. On the principle that if the laptop is for business and still does not have a numpad on the keyboard, they implemented one directly on the touchpad. You can turn this feature on and off from the symbol located in the top right of the touchpad. And last but not least, maybe the most important external feature of the B9 is the screen. A splendid 16:10 HDR OLED. And the resolution is appropriate. 2880 by 1800 pixels, a response time of just 0.2 milliseconds and a maximum brightness of 400 nits. I don't even need to tell you how well the content looks on this OLED screen, not to mention the specifications of this technology, such as absolute black and consequently infinite contrast. And in terms of accuracy, the screen is mind-blowing. In our measurements, it scored 100% DCI-P3, the uniformity of colors and brightness across the panel's surface is very good, so yes, as I've said on other occasions with other tested OLED laptops, Asus has some of the best panels on some of their models. So, build quality check, design check, keyboard and touchpad check, screen check, and we're done with the exterior. Moving on to the interior, on the model I received for testing, we have an Intel Core i7 1355U processor, which is from the economic category, an integrated Iris Xe graphics card, so we don't have a dedicated GPU, but we don't need one on such a laptop, 16 gigs of RAM and a 1TB SSD. These latter features can be pushed higher, up to 64 gigs of RAM and 2TB SSD, depending on the configuration. The processors can also vary, but they stay in the i5, i7 range, more or less powerful. I won't insist too much on performance tests. Clearly, it's not a laptop for gaming, advanced graphics or video editing, but as a guide, I can tell you that in Cinebench it passes 6000 points in multi-core. Anyway, it's powerful enough for just about any ordinary daily activity like office, browsing, social media, entertainment and even some basic photo editing, thanks to the very precise screen. Autonomy seems to me an important subject, and it's a very good one on B9, but predictable for such an ultrabook, specially designed for long travels and portability. Asus managed to integrate into this chassis a 63 Wh battery, one of the largest I've seen on such an ultrabook. And the wireless connectivity part is well represented also, with Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3, as well as the business functions. That is, it has NFC, unlocking with a fingerprint built into the power button, and last but not least, a camera that also has an infrared sensor, but whose quality did not convince me, especially for a business laptop on which theoretically users are in calls for hours every day. And for these reasons, I would have expected it to be better. And there is also something else I did not like. The fact that this camera has a physical cover, a slider that covers it, and while this is a good thing that can prevent indiscreet curiosities, the cumbersome way it works did not please me. It has a small lock, which I barely managed to slide with my fingernail back and forth, in the process smearing the camera lens with grease and fingerprints. Well, before concluding, let's say some more good stuff and bad stuff. From my point of view, the good would be, for example, the fact that the B9 does not have a touchscreen. I know some will jump up now, but a business laptop on which you read and write, I don't think it should come with a spray and a cloth to wipe the screen all day long. A less good part, in my opinion, is the sound. Although the laptop is quite loud, the sound is cracked, and especially at high volume, it is fuzzy. It has no bass at all, and it doesn't excel in naturalness either. The excuse that a laptop is very thin and light could be invoked in its defense, but I'm not willing to accept that because my iPhone 14 Pro Max sounds better, and it is smaller and lighter. I think a better job could have been done in this department, but in the end is nothing that can't be solved with a pair of headphones. And now let's draw a line, make a sum, and see if it makes sense or not. The price of this laptop is about $2000, give or take. That is, it is higher or lower depending on the configuration. The one here is somewhat intermediate to ensure good performance but even better autonomy. You can go the other way, opting for example for an i7 1365U processor, clearly more powerful, but the price increases and the autonomy decreases. But what do you ultimately get for these $2000? One of the coolest ultrabooks I've laid my hands on, an extremely elegant and at the same time solid laptop with an excellent form factor and ergonomics and a negligible weight that ensures supreme portability. Sure, There are downsides, such as the sound or small imperfections like the noisy space key or the physical camera switch, but these are more than compensated for by the overall quality of this product. It seems to me a fair price for what it offers, and you also get a serious dose of wow factor. And that being said, you tell me in the comments, how do you like the business flagship of Asus? How do you find the price asked? Big, small, or correct? We conclude this video, but not before inviting you to subscribe here on our channel. I thank you and wish you good luck.